Welcome to Product as a Star. I am your host, Will Cunningham. And on this show, we talk to folks interested in getting the word out about a product, good, service, message, or a call to action. Today's discussion will feature a conversation and performance with Darren Stakey. Welcome to the show, Darren. First off, do I have your name right? Did I get that right? Darren
Yeah,
Stakey.
you nailed it. It's Darren
All right.
Stakey, and I
Okay.
use Stay Key as a stage name as well
Okay.
from time to time.
Okay.
So you nailed it. Stay Key.
All right. So tell us, where are you based out of?
I'm from New York, born and bred, Long Island more specifically, and bounced
Wow.
around a little bit, but I'm back home, back in the hood. Feels good.
So how did you find yourself on this current journey, like in music? So you find yourself here with all of this musical talent. It's culminating into quite a buzz for you. How did you find yourself getting into music?
Well, I mean, great question. Music's always been a part of my life. I think inextricably intertwined is the right terminology. I am just music is part of my core. It's part of who I am. I think of things in musical terms when people are speaking. A lot of times we don't think of it as such, but it is music. You understand when a person is asking you a question because they use a half cadence. They end by raising the pitch at the end, right? So oh, it's an interrogative, it's a question. So little things like that have always sort of just occurred to me growing up. So yeah, music is it's just that magical thing that exists everywhere, and then the secret is just trying to pull it out of the ether, right? So
Right. Pulling it out of the ether. That's a strong word. That ether is a word that's been circulating in my circle for the last 6 months heavy. So it's great that you tapped into that. So did it start with a music lesson or a piano lessons?
I
Or
was classically trained when I was growing up, and I got
okay.
vocal training to sing operatically, and also piano. I sort of pushed piano to the side and fell in love with the woodwinds for a while, particularly saxophone. And several years of my musical development were dedicated to that sort of pedagogy. And then as time went by, I fell in love with the guitar because it's so portable. You can take it to the beach, stuff like that. And then my true love for the piano, reasserted itself sometime thereafter. And that's pretty much, I messed with the drums. I got a kit back here, and I like to play with a lot of different instruments, but I think piano is my first love. And the training that I got that way has served me now when I moved from more of classical or jazz oriented to more pop or singer songwriter, blues, R&B, which is really sort of an encapsulation of my styles. So yes, I had a lot of great music teachers, even just through school. Went to a public school, and I had a great education there. Great teachers who were dedicated to their craft and made me a better musician. I think that everybody can be a teacher if you allow yourself to be open to their talents and what you can absorb from them.
Absolutely. So the role of student teacher will switch without a moment's notice. So we must be present, right? And so that's very, very true. I like that you said that. So I from my count, I think we're up to 4 instruments. Did I count? Wait, we got a good guitar, piano. Is there an accordion?
Oh Lordy, yeah. I played with the accordion. I'm more of an amateur in the true sense of the word. Amateur sort of doesn't mean that you're a novice. It really just means you do it for the love of it. Like stuff like that, I just do for the love. I don't know that I would take it out of the lab, you know what I mean? But I messed around with that, flute, clarinet, stuff, some other instruments. Obviously, you play the bass lines when you're. I like to track a lot of my own compositions myself. I prefer not to farm it out. So I lay in those things, even though they're not necessarily my strongest area, but I like to be in life as well as with my musicianship, like sort of an all-around player. So I wouldn't say I'm a master of any one particular instrument, but I can kind of just pick up anything and, you know, make some tunes. You know what I mean, Will?
Right, right. I do know what you mean. I love music. I love creating music. I can't play any instruments. Doesn't stop me from trying.
Yet, my
Just to,
friend.
you know.
It's always
um,
that's always the qualifier. You can't play anything yet. You just have to find that thing that clicks for you.
I'm gonna find it too. I'm gonna find it.
All right.
So you also write songs.
Yeah, I've done some of the classical compositions early on as well, and then sort of swung over to more of singer-songwriter pop. Actually, I had quite a musical evolution. My first record deal was in the dance music arena,
Okay.
which came as a surprise to me in a way because it's wasn't my initial love, and then I subsequently, you know, developed a strong affinity for the genre. But yeah, I went from dance to more straight rock centered. And now that I have my own label, in addition to what I do musically, I've been focusing more on releasing all of those half-finished compositions that ended up in the vaults, going back through them and finding the gems and releasing that content as part of the catalog of my life. You know what I mean? Each song sort of says something different about where I was at the time I was writing it. So it's exciting to sort of explore that stuff and to put it out and sort of rediscover my past loves in a way, you know, rediscover where I was at, what was giving me angst and what was motivating me at that point, and to look at it with fresh eyes and a new perspective, and then find a production of that song that will be evergreen, that will live on, that could speak to different time frames and would be relevant whenever it's discovered.
Absolutely. And speaking on that, so like on the topic of songwriting, do songs come to you, or do you sort of conjure, like looking for phrase pairings, looking for proper melodies? Do you go looking for it? Because I know in my experience, I do both, right? I like to write. I get a song that comes in, I'm like, oh, I have to stop what I'm doing to capture this. And then other times I'll go into just you know, a simple rhyme pattern off of anything, you know, just trying to conjure, if you will, or you know, fetch, if you will. Could you talk to us a little bit about your approach?
I mean, that's such a great lead into it too, Will, because different songs come in different ways.
Hmm.
Absolutely, when it comes to the piano, I could be just playing around, allowing my conscious brain to take a back seat and let my fingers do the work.
Hmm.
And that's part of the fun of playing a number of different instruments, because you'd write a song you would never write if you're only playing the piano, if you're messing with the guitar. You happen upon different chord progressions or a different top line that will bring you into a different vibe and give you, oh, this is a whole different song. Some songs come with the instrument first and a chord progression and a vibe. Other times, like for example, the song that I'm here to promote today, Don't Light the Lights on the Tree Without Me, came lyrically first. And just a little piece, a little phrase of it came, and then it sort of developed almost into a poem without music. And then the trick was to find the melody that went behind it. So some songwriters have a process, like Elton John, for example, is a piano person.
Hmm.
Takes Bernie Taupin, you know, their great partnership. He provides the lyrics, and then Elton John gives those lyrics a voice. Sometimes I approach it that way with the lyrics first, and sometimes the lyrics just wrap around the chords and the melody for me.
Fascinating. Fascinating. So on Product of the Star, people, we are talking about the process of an artist. This artist we're talking to is Darren Stakey, and he just took us into his process. And it's fascinating when artists get to talk to other artists about their process, because we're so dynamic and different, and there's multiple approaches, and there's, music is so vast and all of these types of things. So I'm very encouraged that you shared that with our audience, because our audience likes to rewind things and break them down and try to get that jewel, that wisdom and that inspiration. So it makes me wonder, how do you see yourself as an artist?
Wow, that is a deep question. I honestly, I see myself as in with my art, whether it's audio or visual or other creations, like I see my approach to anything in life generally, and that's as a contributor. I really want to try to. It may sound corny or campy, but I really do want to try to make the world a better place, and I want to leave something behind that's a true contribution that could have meaning to people across generations and even longer. So when I approach art for legacy purposes, anyway, it's absolutely to try to convey a message that will have meaning to different people and can cross, these really actually arbitrary things that tend to divide us as a people, as a society, and to find those commonalities that bring people together.
Sort of those universal concepts that tie us together. You touch on something in a way that is specific enough but vague enough to where people can sort of have their mind fill in the blanks to what that might mean for them. And Christmas is a great time for that. But before we get into that, how do you think your viewers and your audience views you? How do you think the world sees you as an artist?
I believe that the viewing public upon taking in my whole catalog would see me as sort of a person that grows. A strange aside that wouldn't even seem like it's an analog, but growing up, my idol was Abraham Lincoln. I always thought he was the coolest president, and the thing that impressed me most about him was his evolution, his growth, how he, had a lot of problematic beliefs or approaches to the world and to what his society was dealing with that time, but he didn't just stay there. He was living in a dynamic system, and he was a dynamic person, and he grew and he evolved with it, and he listened and he learned, and that evolution, that growth, it shows itself so clearly in his policies and his legislations. Now, in a musical perspective, I think that's sort of what you would think for me too. I think if you listen to some of my earlier releases and some of the more simple things that are meant to be easily digestible have in certain ways given way to some complexity, and while still keeping like maybe a simple chord progression and readily ascertainable sort of music part, that lyrically or in some other way I'm expressing a much more complex idea. I'm sort of evoking things that will bring into a higher plane of thought and take some time to truly understand and to give it meaning. So I think as an artist, the public would see me as someone who has grown, and hopefully it would also lead to excitement of what's still to come, because I definitely have a long and strong career ahead of me, and I know just even for 2022 there's some great releases, not just collaborations that I've been involved with that are come out on Wildwood Productions LLC, my record label, but also just things that I've been doing personally that I really think are really elevate the form from where I've from the paths that I've tread down before. So I think hopefully audience sees that growth and and vibes with it.
Right, because I see. Well, I don't have enough of a previous reference to see growth. However, when I went to your YouTube, I was shocked because I saw 3 videos, I think, and YouTube is a hectic environment for getting can be for getting an audience. So there's not many views, and I've been really excited about interviewing artists and things like that. So I had to check myself. I was like, am I just getting excited, or is this really good? Like, is this really good? Or shouldn't this be like, this has this certain sound? I'm like, wait a minute, I must be too excited. I'll come back to it. Then I found your bio and I read, well, no, this is what you do. You've been around the world. You've performed. You've done a lot of things. You've got songs on the radio. And like you said, you have your own record label. So I go, well, okay, this guy has, is obviously got the gravitas and the chops to do it. So that just put me in a whole new energy too with interviewing you. So I wanted to share that with you from my view. How I view you as somebody that's okay. It's a no-brainer. All right, it's just about finding if the guy has it. There's no more questioning about that. You definitely have it. So now it's just about how do you find yourself getting that big push? But you're getting that with radio a little bit, and I'm very excited for you. So if we were to ask ourselves this, or if you were to allow me to ask you this, what resources do you find that you can't live without, especially when it comes to your journey, making music? You have instruments you play and your own record label. So what keeps you going? What are your sources of?
Well, my resource, the unending spring of energy and motivation for me is my family. I think that's got to be true about a lot of people. The thing about being an artist, in order to truly touch upon, like the ether that we were referring to before, a lot of times you have to disconnect yourself from reality. You have to not be thinking with your conscious brain. You have to elevate to the kind of place where guys like Nikola Tesla lived, somewhere out here, up here in the stratosphere. And when you get untethered, your art gets better, but you also lose the connection to terra firma, to the ground, to stay rooted and to have an important sense of the forest for the trees, where you are in your life. And it's easy sometimes as a musician or as an artist to sort of live in the world of your art, to sort of detach and just explore where your imagination could take you, which is a beautiful and wonderful thing. But at the same time, in order to function, and especially if you want to be an artist in the industry, you need to be thinking with both of those dreams. You need to connect when it matters too. And so you need to have some sort of vehicle to give you that grounding, And for me, that's my family. I have a lovely wife, Stephanie, who's my constant support, my partner in everything I do. And I have an amazing nuclear family, my mother, my sister Renee, that are so supportive and have given me the tools for success growing up. And a wonderful extended family beyond that, a whole community of people that I feel that I'm an integral part of their lives, and that I give to them, and that there's this sort of symbiosis, so it's this sort of back and forth. And it's human resources, and truly the sense of the word is you need humanity. You need to stay connected to that. You need to be empathetic to how you are impacts other people, and the interconnectivity between them, and the string that you're on with another person can elevate you when you're down, and vice versa. And all of that, I think, ties into the main resources you need. You got to have talent. You got to have chops. You got to have a willpower, because you get rejected so much in life. Music is and even more of a crucible in that way, that the rates of success are so infinitesimal that in a way it's daunting. But everything in life is like that. It's a broader trend that you have to put in. You don't just get out. It doesn't work like that. You can't have a sense of entitlement. You have to have a sense of hustle. You have to know your worth, and you have to fight for yourself. But at the same time, you have to work, and you can't expect things to be sort of handed to you. And yeah, I try to balance that sort of understandings.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. What I took from that was I took that in our journey on discovering our talents of exploring our talents musically, we should detach from the world somewhat. But in doing so, we need to remain grounded so that we don't, because isolation can be dangerous in the form that we can become out of touch, which is the whole point of us doing music, is to touch people. So it sounds like in that balancing act, your recharging is your family, right? And so your family keeps you grounded. Your wife, your sister, your mother, they keep you grounded. And in this way, you can sort of bungee into the ethers and then anchor back down,
You
and
nailed it, Will.
you get the best of both worlds. And I really I respect that. I mean, I took a lot from that because I'm also taking notes on my, because I'm also learning too. There's like a secret hidden university where I'm also what can I learn from this guy too, so that was fantastic. Wow, man. So this next question is just a question, really a transition question as we find ourselves going into who Darren Stakey is, what you're working on right now, and these types of things. But I do want our audience to know, what are you listening to? What are some of the artists that you're streaming, or what music are you into? And you can be honest, we love all music here.
Yeah, it's an eclectic mix at this point. I have been in connection with the record label Wildwood Productions, LLC, listening to a lot of new music from undiscovered artists. So my head has been delving deep into such interesting amalgamations. One, for example, is sort of a blend of more dance sort of themes with sort of country music, which is a combination that you would never sort of hear.
Okay.
But that's sort of the way music is. You never expect to hear something, and then you do, and then it blows up. So I would say a lot of the things that I've been listening to are things that you can't find yet, but if you stay tuned with Wildwood Productions, you absolutely will hear them in the coming months and years. As far as people that you would know, because obviously I want your listeners to, take something from who I am and what my vibe is. In general, I would say the two sort of default types of music that spoke to me originally as I was growing up were hip hop and like classic rock, all sorts of rock, particularly some of the classic vibes. And I think if you listen to especially even more recent music of mine, there's been some of that genesis of things coming together. And in particularly right now, I just finished, like probably many people, watching the Get Back documentary for the Beatles, and Peter Jackson directed. And it was so instructive to me because it reminded me of how influential that band was on my development. You can always read haters on the internet, and I was struck by a comparison, which, it's not totally lost on me, saying another one of my icons and people that I've looked up to for their talent, that's like, nobody ever did this for James Brown. And it was almost to me like saying, how could anybody talk bad about, everybody's talking about peanut butter and jelly, but grilled cheese is over there. You know what I mean? Like they're both they're both viable and delicious sandwiches on their own, and like the elevation of one is not necessary. It's not a zero-sum game. It's not necessarily the detraction of others. But anyway, more central to your question, the Beatles were definitely, I would say, my favorite band when I discovered my mom's LPs and started listening to like Pink Floyd and some of those classic rock groups of that period. But I would encourage your viewers to check out that documentary because it really gives you a wealth of information on
What was it called again?
how difficult it is to make music. It's called Get Back. Peter Jackson, okay, who directed Lord of the Rings, directed it. And yeah, it absolutely gives you an insight into how difficult the process of making music is, because I love music, but it's very difficult. It's I wouldn't be so bold as to actually compare it to labor, but to the extent that it is like giving life to a new thing, there's a lot of pains and pangs that go along with that, and that comes out there, as well as just in general the songwriting process and how a song can change so much over time. For example, this song that I'm here to get some awareness about, even though I wrote it and it had its own body when it was first created, and that's totally viable, all of a sudden, within a day or two, I was like, oh, let me try a different remix and doing like a whole different genre. And let me try another different genre and see where this song lives, where it's most comfortable expressing itself. Anyway, I mean, I think we're getting far afield from your question, but
no, but that's good. This is why I love these questions, because I love these questions.
The different kinds of music that I listen to on a regular basis, they bleed into my creation to that point, or the ear that I'm listening to some other artists if I'm producing their record.
Right. And it's fine that you had that open-ended beautiful dissertation, really, because we love those type of answers. We don't want the short ones. We want our creative artists to have a platform where they can get this out because there's so few places to actually, be able to unwind and things like that. Now, last question before we get into the Christmas energy of holiday season. How do you feel about streaming these days? Are you bullish?
Yeah, well, I think the Bulls have it for music right now. I think if anything, we can see that music is finally starting to be recognized for how valuable it is in a monetary sense. And we've always known how central it is, from the fact it's part of all of our rituals, what we do, every part of our daily life. There's music, right? And it tells you different things, whether it's the music of the police siren and how it's different from the ambulance siren or the fire horn. Like that is music in a way, and that means different things. Will, your questions are so deep that it's hard for an artist, because you make me like branches on a tree. There's so many different thoughts, so many different possible responses and things I want to say.
I know.
You get me, on a bunch of different.
But it sounds like you're saying music is culture.
Yeah, music defines the culture, and the culture defines the music, right? I mean, they live with each other. If you go through from a music theory perspective, or like history of music sort of course, you learn about how, let's say, certain straight liturgical canonical music that was very simple and just relied on fifths and fourths and simple sort of things led to more complex Renaissance music, led to Baroque, led to classical, led to romantic, and then led to modern and postmodern, and then all of
chamber
the
music,
contemporary music genres. So it's when you go through the history of music, you go through the history of humanity and where our heads were at. You kind of get a better understanding for how the people of different times looked at the world, because it just comes right out in the music. You can hear it. That's exciting for me.
I love it, man. So so we're in the Christmas energy. You like Christmas, I could tell you.
Yeah,
I like it too. It's one of just the energy I know people celebrate different things in different ways. I just love the collective relaxation of the end of the year. Everybody's got their shoulders are relaxed a little bit. I mean, they go tense when they get in those lines, but then they're like, all right, they're drinking, they're giddy off of eggnog and coffee and all different kinds. Everybody's just kind of like, okay, let's get this year out of here. I love that like that sort of at ease. If we were in the army, they would say at ease. That so
Yes, well,
how do you feel about Christmas?
no, that's you. We are. See, I got so excited, even my keyboard had to jump out and say things.
All right,
I'm
we're
gonna
doing
do
things.
something a little crazy. What was very evocative to me just now is that, right? It's like that. Let your shoulders down. What you said there, I think, was very important, and it speaks to something we were talking about earlier in the interview. And the artist's philosophy is usually to live out in the clouds and to need something to bring you down to reality. But
Right.
in a different way, here, generally, we're always on the ground, and we need an opportunity to just escape it and to go into the clouds and to have a moment where we can collectively, as society, no matter what religion you are or what your belief system, that you have some period of time or some opportunity within your social circle to get untethered, to release all the stress of staying so grounded and staying so focused on that grind. And without that, you can't be productive. The Greeks said everything in moderation, even moderation. So once in a while, you have to have some revelry. You have to have, let loose. And by doing that, it makes you much more effective when you got to tighten up your game again too. And the holidays are absolutely that time.
Wow. So the song you're gonna play for us, I'm gonna mess this up, but please correct me. Don't turn the Christmas tree lights on without me.
Yeah, you know what? That's not exactly the title, but that's the spirit, and that's what matters. Well, and it really that's it.
Give us the real title.
Don't light the lights on the tree without me, because
Right.
that's what makes the house a home. It can turn strangers
Right.
like you and I were before this interview into family. It can bring people together.
Right. Well, I am looking forward to hear. Okay, so I need the official title though, so I can intro you right. I got to give you a good intro.
Okay. So what I wanted to do something special for you, Will, and for your viewers. So I'm gonna play my new Christmas single, "Don't Light the Lights on the Tree Without Me," but I'm gonna do it in a style that has never been heard before by anyone but you, because I, in fact, was just thinking about a new arrangement for it an hour or so ago, and I'm gonna give it a go. So we'll see how it goes. But I want to add a little bit of like more jazzy, bluesy influences into it, and I'm real excited to share it with you.
Don't light the trees without me. I mean, don't light the trees. Excuse me.
Some
of my audience is going to take that the wrong way.
It's actually don't light the lights, right? And then subtitled on the tree.
Don't light the lights without me. Don't light the lights on the tree without me. Darren Stakey. It even all rhymes. I might put it in a rhyme later on. I was hanging out with Darren Stakey. All right, man. Thank you for this. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Darren Stakey.
Now the garland's all hung up, logs are on the fire, gingerbread eggnog in your cup, one thing more required. Make me a promise, can I ask all I wanna know? While you're warm and cozy in your bed and I'm rushing through the snow, don't light the lights on the tree without me. It makes a house a home and us a family. They say that the best thing the lights on the tree without me. More than presents under the tree. That's what Christmas means to me. Oh, how I hate to leave you when it's time to say goodbye. But the look on your face and the love in my eyes is enough to get by. And so when the Yuletide comes rolling in, and I just want you to know, part of me will stay right here, even when I go. Don't light the lights on the tree without me. It makes a house a home and us a family. They say that the best things in life are free. Don't light the lights on the tree without me. More than presents under the tree. That's what Christmas means to me. Spending time with family. That's what Christmas means to me.
All right, man. Darren Stakey, ladies and gentlemen. Stay key, stay key. I tell you what, song breakdown, song analysis, really powerful. You say a lot without saying a lot. Okay, so
Thanks, Will.
that song is for everybody. It's people down on their luck, people who make, you shift the focus off of the materialistic aspect of Christmas, and you speak to the lighting, which is a bond, which you get right to the sentiment. It really is about, let's light this up with our energy, the alignment of us lighting this tree and decorating and being one while we're relaxed, while we're all, this is what it's about. I understand that Christmas under the day, the presents are great, but don't like that without me, because that's my moment. I appreciate that, man. That's a good sentiment in there. And I sure appreciate you being on this show, and I sure appreciate you making time for us, and we got to hang out sometime. But I do want to know, as we find ourselves drawing this to a close, and this is great, and I know you do more music than just Christmas, so you got to come back on, and talk. And we want to know more about your record label as well. But to bring this to a close, what's one thing that you wish you would have known before you began your career?
Oh man, woo! Well, you definitely.
I'll go first if you want me to.
Quick,
I can go first.
Friend.
I can go first.
You know what? I wish I would have known that there's a heck of a lot of things that you learn experientially when you go through any process, and becoming a professional musician is one of those processes. I wouldn't trade the mistakes and the hard lessons I've learned, because I think that is sort of what defines you as a musician. But what I would say, one thing I wish I would have known earlier is how monumental a small thing can be. Small acts, little nods towards a goal, baby steps, even just spending time thinking positively about something that you want, even if you're not doing something tactily, even if you're not, bringing potentiation to it, or actualization to it, even if it's just potentiation, even if just small kindnesses make all the difference. And I wish I would have realized that it doesn't take, you don't have to have everything lined up. It doesn't take a full action plan and hemming and hawing and stressing. All it takes is positive energy and moving in the right direction. So I wish I would have known that sooner and not necessarily put so much heartache and stress and pressure upon myself to perform and to nail it. You know, even just now, I gave you that, and you know, it was a decent rendition. You know, musicians are always hypercritical of themselves. So in my head, I would be thinking about, oh, you know, I dragged over, I hit this, or my timing went out for a minute when I stopped. I wanted to, you know, slow down for the song, but I lost the flow for, you know, the musicians do that sort of thing, and they focus on all the negatives. Not just musicians, people in general. There's so much focus on the negative and the critical points, and less focus on the baby steps of progression, the positive things. So I wish I would have known that happiness in life and success in life, not just a career, is about focusing on doing little goods, a whole mess of them, a whole series, a lifetime of little pebbles thrown in that will raise the level of the pond over time.
Right, right. That's great that you shared that. I'm going to take that with me too. I like a lot of that, and I want to share one with my audience as we close too. One of the things that I wish I would have learned before I started this journey was to fail forward fastly. Like, I would have failed more, like, and not taking it personal. I would have understood that. I would have told myself, fail. No, the secret is through the failure, because that's where you're going to get the optimization data to make yourself better. So with that said, Darren, I really appreciate your time and energy. You guys, this was Product as the Star. Another great interview as always. My man, Darren Stakey. I really appreciate your time and energy, man. And that does it for us on this episode, man. Blessings to you and your family. Happy holidays.
God bless you, gentlemen.
Peace to you.
I can't wait to see you again next time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, man. Right on. I appreciate that.